1-2. Swinging a drive toward right center. Back goes Robert. Back near the stands. That ball is gone. A game-winning home run for Chris Morel. Can you believe it? Listen to this crowd.
Welcome back to the Brotherly Cubs podcast. I am your little brother, Zach, and that's my big brother, John. We are your baseball-watching brothers who love everything about the Chicago Cubs. If you enjoy the Cubs, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, give us a holler every week as we dive into the most lovable team in all of Major League Baseball.
We'd like to thank all of our subscribers for tuning in and checking us out every week. And we'd like to start every episode with a playful question for all of our 131 subscribers. We gained one from last week, so thank you. Today, Zach, I ask you, who's your favorite American League team? Wrong answers only.
Well, I'm going to go with the Angels because it's incredibly easy to get into their game. It's cheap. The parking lot is usually pretty easy to get in and out of.
Yeah.
They've got Kyle Hendricks, and they've also got a guy named Anthony Rendon, who's played less games than famous athletes like Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis. He does not show up for work, and he collects a large sum of money, and I think all Americans appreciate that in him.
Yeah, you should definitely start a how-to book. How to get rich quick and not do anything.
Win the World Series, that's step one.
There you go. And then do nothing for the rest of your career. Yeah, that's a good one. It's funny you thought of that one. I thought of them because the Angels, I've mentioned this before to my friend Patrick, who I believe was our 131st subscriber, my coworker, Patrick Dodd. And Patrick is a Dodger fan, and I tried to tell him, I like the Angels Stadium for that exact reason that you mentioned, was the parking and getting in and out. I said, where do you park? Like, do you park, in the main that parking structure there off of, I think it's right by Elysian Park or whatever, Elysian Park. And it's just absolutely nuts. Like, you have to leave early basically in order to get out of there at a decent time. Mm-hmm. I like the Yankees personally for those torpedo bats.
Not just a Yankee thing. Not just a
Yankee. And for introducing it and for absolutely killing the Brewers and I think they're trying to find a way to to even the score with losing Juan Soto and trying to make up for that lack of power versus the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to them for kicking their butts this week, and
the Angels. I was gonna say shout out to the Angels. I was thinking of the teams that have beat the Brewers or the Cardinals. They beat the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was many games, but I think it was only one game. But
still,
though, and Angels, yeah, they have a really great. I always for some reason, I like the gift shops. I like walking around and seeing all the merchandise that I can't buy. But just they have a really nice ballpark. It's very accessible. The fans are not threatening to stab you after the game.
They just don't care anymore. So they're just there.
They just don't care. They're numb like us. It's like, not that their payroll is similar to ours or anything like that, but yeah, it's good. It's a good location. Anaheim, I like it. I like that team. I like the venue. So, all right. So we're going to recap the A's series here. Forgive me if I'm a little under the weather here. I'm battling a cold. So we're looking at game one. Game one, the Cubs beat the A's 18-3. Ben Brown had 3 earned runs. There's 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Pretty decent game from him. Really solid, it's what you want to see from a fifth starter. Tucker, Swanson, Bush all homered. Tucker and Swanson had 3 RBIs each. Bush had 4 RBIs, and Carson Kelly, of course, hit for the cycle, which is nuts. You would never think that he would be the one hitting for the cycle. I would think maybe, I was going to say Justin Tucker, just like like Sam did it on the podcast. Sam Olber did on his podcast. Kyle Tucker, I would think he would be the one to hit for the cycle first this year. But right, it's funny because the triple always seems to be, obviously the hardest. It has to carry him off the wall like at the perfect angle, or they have to overplay it. Basically, the outfielder has to overplay it.
Yeah, if you're slow,
Sure
I mean,
if you're PCA, the triple probably comes first before even a single.
Yeah, turn a single into a triple.
Yeah. So, anyways, first Cub in 32 years to do that since Mark Grace. Carson Kelly was the first. So that's big. Game 2, the Cubs won. It was a little bit closer match there, 7-4. So Justin Steele went 6 2/3, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 Ks. It was pretty good. He did give up a couple 2-run homers, and we'll talk more about that later on. Seiya Suzuki hit a 3-run homer. Justin Tucker homered again. This is 4 straight, I believe.
Kyle Tucker.
Did I say Justin Tucker?
Yeah, I think you want to say yeah.
That's contagious, man.
The kicker from who's in trouble. He's in legal trouble, right?
So yeah, he's escaping the law. he's sought out baseball. Game 3, they won 10-2, which they could have easily probably put up another 2 or 3 more runs in that game. A's got out of a couple jams in that game. Taillon went 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 Ks. You start out really. I don't know if you watched any of the game. The first inning or so. I was staying home sick from work, but I got to see him really dominate the first inning. A little bit into the second inning, he was just cruising, and then he just kind of hit a few speed bumps, so to speak. But he was really solid all around. That's what you want to see your starters go, at least 6 innings, maybe 7 if you could. Not everybody's, Nathan Eovaldi throwing complete games or anything, but he threw the latest one, I think. So moving on in that game, they again won 10-2. Seiya hit a 2-homer game. His last homer that went over the right field wall was so close. I'm kind of curious to know the dimensions of that ballpark, because it's probably a fly out in most ballparks. But
yeah, definitely.
I was like, wow, that ball's carrying. Oh, and it's gone.
Sacramento.
Sacramento. So Horner, Tucker, PCA all got steals and scored shortly after. That's awesome. You like to see Tucker not only with his power, obviously, but his speed as well. That's probably a trait of his that's probably overlooked a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On the season, so Seiya Suzuki has 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. Tucker has 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, which I think is it's like 2 or 3 times the amount of RBIs that the Houston Astros have.
Wow.
I was reading a stat on that, on Twitter. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Huh.
So there's a lot to unpack here in this 3-game sweep. I never felt so relaxed in my life watching the Cubs, and I didn't know if they would necessarily get the sweep, especially how they, the pitchers that they had lined up. Severino is a great pitcher, he usually is. I think you said, Jeffrey Springs. We were speaking off air about him. He's a great pitcher as well. They just took it to him, man. Their offense, I think, scored, was it 31 runs or something like that? Let's see here. 35 runs? Oh, yeah, 35 runs.
Average almost 12 runs a game.
There's a point that, I don't know, he's probably not the only person that makes it. Sam Olber mentioned, they'll score, 12 or 13 runs in one game, and then they'll score like 3 or less in the next game. And then they'll lose, like 5-3 or something.
They did that a lot last year, right? They were scoring 12 and 13 and then scoring 0 or 1 or 2 and losing.
Yeah, the well runs dry. It's like it's interesting, like, but sometimes you just run into, maybe a bad defense or just bad pitching overall, or maybe it is a good offense. I think they've shown a lot of patience. It looks like they're drawing a lot more like full counts.
Yeah.
Which is what the Dodgers do. Dodgers are just absolutely incredible at this. they really work the counts, and they you see a lot of full counts. I know when they played us, that's all I would see. It was just like 3-2 count, and here we go.
Yeah, it gets the pitch count up. I mean, Jeffrey Springs threw like, what was it, 80 pitches through 3 innings or something like that.
Yeah, it
A
was
lot of pitches.
Yeah. He was already on pace to have a quick hook there. But yeah, we got to their bullpen is not great. Except for obviously, Mason Miller, but who finally threw today. I think it's just getting working, obviously. I mean, just throwing gas. His strikeout percentage is just insane. I think it's tops in the bigs. He's had the highest strikeout percentage since I think 1916.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks to Marquis. Shout out to Marquis for that stat.
That's
yeah. So Zach, what do you think? What do you think about this series? I mean, they split 2 with Arizona, or split 4, a 4-game split there, 2-2. They lost 2, 1-2. Yeah, obviously, we lost those 2 in Tokyo to the Dodgers. But what do you think about this team after that Tokyo series?
Since the Tokyo series, they're 5-2. And if you look at some of the pitching performances, the Diamondbacks series, we saw Taillon and Steele. Steele, we won the game with Steele, 5 innings, 3 runs. I would say this is more of a bounce back, and then he also looked bad early on, but he almost went 7. So he really got settled in, on game 2. Taillon also looked a lot better, and this is against a good offense, not as good as the Diamondbacks, but it's 1 through 5. Butler, Rooker,
Langoliers.
Langoliers, and then this other guy Soderstrom had like 4 home runs already.
Wilson was good too. I think Jack Wilson's kid. I forget his first name. He had a couple hits.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd
say it's a pretty good offense, like for the team that they're for their
budget.
Their team is projected. Their budget, it's pretty good, and offensively, pitching wise, I mean, they put up they got Severino and Springs this offseason. So when you look at those 2 pitchers, they had pitched well for their last organizations, right?
Yeah.
Springs coming from the Rays, that's maybe different, and that he could regress with the A's compared to the Rays. Severino has been good for a long time. He's a veteran, has the Cubs number. And yeah, they did everything. I mean, the offense did everything. So Seiya, Tucker, both red hot right now. Like, good to see Seiya start the season hot as opposed to waiting until May or June.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be happy about. At least they got over 500, got the bad taste that last Diamondbacks game out of their mouth, and they look a little bit better right now. Or a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, if you look back in that Diamondback series, we probably even could have won that. I think 3-1, right? That was one
almost. Yeah.
The second game that we blew, that was the first game. I don't know. I can't remember now. We blew a 7 or 8 run lead or something like that, or 6 run lead. I don't know. Just trying to forget it. But theoretically, I mean, potentially, you could have taken that Diamondback series. We could be 6-3. Yeah. But like we've talked, off air about our goals, for them. A lot of people are hoping, they at least play 500 ball by the end of April, after this absolute gauntlet of a schedule, and the beginning to start off the season here, the 2025 season. I mean, I've never seen such a difficult schedule for, at least for the Cubs. I mean, I'm sure there's teams in the past that have been absolutely, just they're out of it. They're already out of it. Their season's done by May.
Yeah, like the Marlins last year,
like the Marlins,
or the White Sox.
Yeah. I'm just glad that we're in the NL Central. Just like I've talked to my friends about this that are Dodger fans, and if you're the Padres, if you're the the Diamondbacks, or of course the Rockies, they have absolutely zero chance to win the division. Really, the Diamondbacks and Padres are most likely playing for wild card spots. It's just tough. It's a lot of losses that you're probably going to see between the Dodgers and those other respective teams. So What are some things, Zach, that you liked what you saw earlier on in the season, or I guess to start the season, and what do you want to see moving forward?
So I would say right now, I think we talked about the offense.
Yeah.
That's something that I've really liked because last year the offense was a big issue. Now we're gonna have to see how they do at Wrigley. That was the biggest deal last year was Wrigley offense. We've not played a game at Wrigley. We will on Friday. So speed. I mean, we saw the steals today, and then scoring right after, kind of like playing small ball, not having to rely on slugging, but then also slugging. So offensively, like even Bush and Swanson's got started pretty nicely.
Hmm.
Seiya and Tucker are like way, way hot. Um, and then I will say, like, as much as we're concerned about the starters, we didn't like how Steele and Taillon performed against the Diamondbacks. They both, we put it together basically 5 really good outings in a row from our starters. And
Hmm.
those aren't all quality starts. This last one from Taillon was a quality start, quote unquote quality start. Steele, almost put one up, but he started poorly and ended strong. And for him to be able to do that, hopefully he can turn the corner and feeling good about the rotation.
Hmm.
Um, if there's anything I'd want to see in the future, obviously the bullpen really let us down this week against the Diamondbacks. 8 runs in 1 inning, which is like historically bad.
Yeah.
Giving up an RBI to a pitcher. Did not think I'd see that like this year by any
Yeah.
team, and it
Yeah.
came to the Cubs in the first week of the season. And that pitcher then ended up getting on second base, then scoring again. Things I haven't seen in probably like 5 or 6 years.
Right.
That all happened in 1 game in 1 inning. So
Yeah.
yeah, just getting a better bullpen usage, maybe like Eli Morgan might need to get optioned
Yeah.
to get kind of better in line. I don't want to give up on him yet. He was very good last year. Pearson has struggled. They're gonna have to maybe figure out when to use certain guys. Hodges look good. I would like to see. Now I'm actually hoping for possibly Assad to get healthy. He should be close, but also
Yeah.
guys like Miller and Ryan Brazier.
Hmm.
Kind of want to see what they have because if they can get healthy and move things around again, then the bullpen could be that much better. That to me is like our only like weakness right now, I'd say.
Yeah, those are all great points. I mean, paying Colin Ray the money that he's getting for
Mop up
to,
role.
to mop up role, yeah, like it's just kind of I'm just dumbfounded, I guess.
Right.
Um, it's disappointing, I guess, really is the word. But I mean, it is what it is. I guess they'll see it, the All-Star break, what they really need. Um, like you said, I mean, Steele, hopefully he can, right the ship there. He's given up, I think, 5 home runs
Wow.
already, and yeah, he's last year he gave up 12.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah,
It's pretty bad.
he's kept the ball down last year. Or he kept the ball down last year, and it's just been up and bad location. Brent Rooker is an absolute stud, so he homered off of him. So I mean, that's um, but giving up what was it, two 2-run homers or something like that. I mean, I don't know if his I haven't looked at his velocity. I don't know if you noticed anything about
It's
his
been down
velocity.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I just hope usually, when pitches are uncharacteristically pitching the way that they are, it's usually an injury lingering and guys
Yeah.
don't want to say anything. So I hope that if he is injured, he doesn't just try and like battle through it. An injury would be obviously terrible. He was injured last year for a month to begin the year after that Texas start.
Hmm.
So I mean, we'll see. He's definitely something to kind of keep an eye on. Um, so encouraging things that I saw. I like what I saw so far from me personally. Like you mentioned, the offense. So it wasn't just a flash in the pan, like we mentioned. It was pretty consistent. They put up pretty decent numbers. Even that Diamondback series, was pretty good too. Shaw is displaying great speed, and he's taking some walks here and there that you mentioned off air. He's not slugging. His batting stance is really awkward, and it's being mentioned even on air by I think JD.
Yeah.
You're seeing his back. I don't know why we're seeing his back to the pitcher, and he's standing so far away from home plate. It's really, and he still manages to hit some of the pitches. It's incredible, really. But maybe it's just me. It just seems like he's standing really far away from the plate.
I don't remember him looking like that from the minor leagues last year. I don't know why he did a swing change. I mean, it looks more pronounced. I know the leg kick was there, but not like the whole turning your whole body and then kind of using that to torque. I don't know. It looks awkward.
It just seems like it's hard to make up for that. If it's an inside pitch, I feel like you could pitch him inside easily because you have to be quick to the ball, with your wrists and everything.
Yeah.
So you'd have to almost reduce that leg kick. I don't think it's going to be a final product. I think, our hitting coach, Dustin Kelly, has got to get with him and figure out some things. I don't think he's terrible or anything, but he's swung at pitches off the plate that are really, really close that he just is whiffing at, whether he's behind or he's just location wise just off the plate where he's standing. I don't know, but I think he'll definitely change his stance. But also another encouraging thing that I saw was JMO bouncing back. He had a really bad outing his first time out, and this was a lot better. I believe him and Jack Neely are messing around with a different type of pitch.
Is it a changeup?
Kick change or something like that. Did you read about that?
I have yet to read it. I just have briefly seen about it, but I need to read about it.
Yeah, kick change or something. They're calling it the pitch of the torpedo bat of pitches.
There's always a new pitch. There's always a sweeper. Then it's the splitter. Now it's the kick change. To next year, it's going to be the alien fastball.
And the
you put your hand like this. Your arm comes off. You're over your head, and then all of a sudden you transport it to home plate.
It starts out really fast and then just slows halfway down. Yeah, that's the alien fastball. Yeah, it's always interesting to see the evolution of the game. So things that I kind of want to see, just to kind of sum up all our points here. So King Tuck, I just want to see him eventually. He's going to have those peaks and valleys. He's going to come back down to earth here, I'm sure. But hopefully, at least not till the end of April, because we're going to need as much slug as humanly possible against these teams now. That Padres coming up for first of all. Then we have a 3-game set in LA.
I'll read it for you here. I've got it up.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Padres, Rangers at home, and then Dodgers, Padres again, and then Diamondbacks, Dodgers again, and then Phillies, and then we end the month against the Pirates, which is kind of a softer landing. Although the pitching is actually pretty good.
With our luck, we'll probably face Skeens game 1.
May is a lot easier, though. So April is the month that just sucks. You're going to play Brewers, Giants, Mets, Marlins, Sox, Marlins, Reds, Rockies, Reds. That's a very soft schedule for May. So they can do work. Yeah, they can do work in May. They just need to get through this month and not be under 500 by a lot.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned a good point about Seiya, still being hot. That's obviously one thing I could have said here as well. King Tuck, keep it up. But also Seiya, he's going into, if you look at the environments, right? Arizona, Oakland, not cold places. It's early in the year, right? But traditionally, I think he kind of suffers more in colder environments.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how he does at Wrigley. I think we have a day off tomorrow, right? And then we play Friday against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, what's that?
Play against San Diego.
Fly to San Diego. Yeah.
No, they fly to Chicago to play San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shaw, I want to see him slug more, and Obviously, we talked about his batting stance. I
Mhm.
want to see him revamp that, but that's probably going to take some time. The walks are nice. He's striking out and walking, but hopefully when he gets a hold of a ball, it's at least a double or a triple.
Mhm.
Thielbar and Eli Morgan, I want to see them bounce back. Thielbar wasn't just over the moon about that signing. Eli Morgan, I was more hopeful for, but hopefully both of them will be able to get them back on track, and they're going to be tested for sure over this next month or so, or a couple weeks even. Steele's got to keep the ball down, keep that slider low, away from lefties. And Mike Imanaga, keep doing what you're doing. I think he did really well, right, versus the Dodgers.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he's been good so far, right?
Yeah. There's always that sophomore slump that, especially once hitters figure you're out in your tendencies and your pitching pattern. Sometimes pitchers can fall into a pattern of what sequence they're using. So I mean, luckily, he's looked every much like the pitcher that we thought he would be. I thought he would always be a number two, not necessarily a straight up ace, number one ace, but he's looked really solid so far. So we'll see. I think we may end up having to trade for a starter if Steele can't rebound or if JMO kind of regresses. I think they might have to trade for a starter, like an actual, like a legit ace, if anyone's available on the Mariners or whoever it is. I just think that's something that they have to explore, or they might
Yeah,
have to explore.
that's
So
fair. Or a bullpen piece if it comes down to that. That's always an option. Well, as we sort of close out this podcast, we're happy the Cubs got a sweep here, and now we have to look ahead to this weekend. The home opener at Wrigley is always cold. The home opener in April. They really shouldn't play a game in Wrigley until like the end of April, but I digress. The matchups are Mike Imanaga II. That's Mike Imanaga Jr., also known as Shota Imanaga, versus Randy Vasquez. I think 4.5 or 4.8 ERA last year with the Pods. Matthew Boyd versus Nick Pivetta. Nick Pivetta, new Padre. And then Ben Brown versus, I wrote down Hart, and I don't know his first name, but he's a rookie for the Padres who just made his debut recently. I will find his name. That way I'm not doing a disservice to if a Padre fan happens to scroll upon this. It's Kyle Hart.
oh,
I was going to say Corey Hart, former Brewer
right.
outfielder. Yeah. So, and this was his. Looks like he actually did pitch, but that was like 5 years ago. So I think he left the major leagues for several years and then came back, which is very impressive. So his debut at the Padres just happened, and now this is his second career start with the Padres. He's a lefty. That'll be interesting. So this is a favorable matchup for the Cubs. Obviously, no Dylan Cease, no Michael King. Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove are injured, so we get to face the softer part of their rotation.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
I
they do
mean,
well.
yeah, I was trying to see his numbers here. Like 5 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts.
I will
Solid.
say we don't have as much data on him. Randy Vasquez did not strike out that many batters last year in his, I think, 90 innings pitched. Or he struck out well. I'd say Pivetta is the hardest pitcher of this series.
Right.
He was good with Boston last year.
Yeah.
Randy Vasquez pitched in 98 innings, and he only struck out 62 batters. So that's very poor.
Yeah.
1.5 WHIP. So just did not have a good season. 4.8 ERA. That's a guy you got to beat for sure. So that first game is a must-win, and then from there, they're going to win the series. I feel pretty good about it. Hopefully, it's not too cold and Seiya stays hot. That's my series preview.
Yeah, Padres are undefeated, so I mean it'll be tough. But going back to Pivetta real quick, I mean he was 7 innings versus the Braves. This was on the Sunday, March 30th. So 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 runs, 4K. I mean pretty solid, strong outing for his first game.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, we'll see. Anything can happen in baseball, right? Well, for our luck, we'll win the next four series, and then we'll get swept by the Reds or something. So I mean, that's baseball for you. So, all right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us here on the Brotherly Cubs podcast. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, or join the conversation with us on Twitter at Brotherly Cubs or Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm your big brother, John, and for my little brother, Zach, we will see you next week. And thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you later.
Listen to this crowd.